I'm Catherine, and I'm here with Dr. Bacon for another Breakfast with Bacon, and we're continuing talking about autoimmune. With this week, we're going to be talking about rheumatoid arthritis.
All right, good. We're going to keep beating this this horse here about the idea of inflammation, right? It's one of the biggest things. Mm-hmm. But RA, let me give you a little bit of a kind of a scenario here. Let's have Kathy put her hands up. So RA, this is the synovium, or the tissue that surrounds the joint. This is yeast. So what ends up happening when I turn this hand around, obviously we have two different hands, you can see that. But if I turn this hand around, they look very similar. Now yeast is very similar to this synovial fluid, but what ends up happening is the body knows that this is not a good thing. So we get yeast by stress response. You get a product called, or a organism called Clostridium difficile in your lower intestines. That literally any stress response, that creates that yeast. And yeast craves two things. What's one of them?
Sugar.
So sugar's one, and then number two is B vitamins. So most of the people who have RA or any type of autoimmune, one, they have bowel motility issues, so they're constipated more often than not. Also, they have sugar cravings, and then they're always tired. So they get these ups and downs because they're eating the sugar, they're feeding the yeast is taking the B vitamins, and they don't have any energy. So let's go back to this analogy really quick. So we're looking at these two. The body then is addressing and attacking the yeast. However, it's also then going to be attacking the synovium, which is why you see the inflammatory response inside the joints. If we can downregulate the yeast, then the body doesn't have the alarm anymore, and now we can have healthy tissue. Does that make sense? So to me, it's always about cleaning up that gut. So we've got to start working on kind of cleaning up the diet and getting rid of some of those things that might be causing inflammation, which would be sugar, right? This is the carbohydrates. You people who have RA and you have these joint irritations, you know when you eat poorly. I mean, it's just like you get these things that flared up the response. Well, that flare up's going to be from some sort of problem that's going to create the yeast or like sugar or inflammation. So you've got to start paying attention to that. And that's where Catherine comes in and I come in to really help you organize what could be causing some of that inflammatory response. And that's where you can kind of set up a consultation. Catherine can put together kind of a regimented diet so that you can kind of get going, get healthy. Because I'll tell you what, if you have RA now, it's not going to get better just by taking a medication or forgetting about it. That's not going to work. Number two will be what?
Adding in some anti-inflammatory foods and spices, like cooking with turmeric or ginger, cinnamon. Adding in those good omega-3 rich foods like fatty fish, salmon, herring, mackerel, walnuts, chia seeds.
Yeah, all those are great because a lot of times, we just talked about that, those chia seeds full of fiber, like you said, is more for helping that constipation issue and getting those bowels moving, getting that motility working, right? We've got to get anything that's not supposed to be in there out. And that's the detox pathways that we're trying to support, which is another thing. The third thing that we talk about is adding in supplementation. And yes, these are not treating RA. However, they are things that upregulate the body's ability to detoxify, keep the body moving, and get toxins out. And that's where we're going to start talking about number one. The first product that we would use would be something like Beta-Col. And it's a great product because it helps the body detoxify. It's literally like a cholagogue. It helps open up the liver and get things working the way they're supposed to. Guanidine is a byproduct and things like that causes inflammation, and you got to get that out of the system. Well, a congested liver is going to create more, dump that back into the bloodstream, creates more of an inflammatory response in the body, and this is where Beta-Col and things like that can help support it. Now, another one is Rheumaplex, and it sounds very similar to
rheumatoid.
Yeah, rheumatoid. It's not the vitamin for rheumatoid or RA, but it does help with that process because you have the whole food nutrition. It's going to have catenin in it. It's going to have calcium. It's going to have bone, like veal bone. It's also going to have calcium food, which is all the nuts and bolts to help create good bone and good tissue. It also has Beta-Col in it and some other factors to help mobilize calcium. So these are some ideas that you can kind of dive into. But if you have these problems, and we know some of you do, comment below, tag us, DM us if you'd like to. We can kind of start working through this to kind of give you some ideas of what you can start doing now so that it doesn't become this long-term problem that we have to deal with for the rest of our lives. So thank you for paying attention. Share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you again on the next Breakfast with Bacon.